Okay, good morning. This is the time and place for the Planning Hearing Officer meeting of December 6th, 2017. My name is Vilja Zamaitaitis, and I will be conducting the hearing as the hearing officer. We have one case today on the agenda, and the relevant exhibits are located directly on the panels behind me. And this particular case is for a variance, case number 1720698, which is located at 200 West Broadway. The project description, it's an application for a variance to allow the installation of 2 wall signs on the 3rd story of an existing building in the downtown specific plan Glendale Galleria district, described as portions of lots 1 through 5, track number 1736, and portions of lot 10 through 14, block 3, map book 5-167. Again, this is a variance. If the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meet the criteria just as listed in the required findings for a variance, the planning officer can either approve, impose conditions for approval on the case in question, or if the findings of fact are not evident, then the request has to be denied. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices that were mailed to all property owners and occupants located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. The hearing will proceed as follows. As I've mentioned, I just have read the description of the application request. I'll then read the reports received from other city departments and other letters and communications from interested parties. The case planner, Roger Kiesel, will make a brief overview of the case, give analysis, and make a staff recommendation. The applicant will then be asked to come forward, stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support or in opposition to the application and interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again clearly stating both name and address, within a 3-minute time limit. And lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments, if desired, in response to the testimony given by the preceding speakers. The hearing will then be closed and the case taken under submission. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses and having provided their name and mailing address. Again, the date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. The case can be appealed to the Planning Commission per Chapter 30.62, and copies of the appeal application are available in permit services on the same floor. And if you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of the speaker cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to our planning assistant. I'd like to also inform everyone that the official proceedings of the planning hearing officer's hearing are recorded as part of the public record and are being televised. Okay, with that said, again, this is for a variance case number 1720698 for a sign to be located at 200 West Broadway. And at that point, appears that there are no substantive comments from other city departments, so I'd like to turn the matter over to Roger Kiesel, the case planner.
Good morning, Ms. Zamaitaitis. Famida Rashad is requesting approval of a variance to install 2 wall signs on an existing building located in the DSP Galleria district. Approval of the variance is requested because the proposed wall signs will be located on the 3rd floor of the building, and wall signs are only permitted on the for the ground and 2nd floor occupancies. The proposed signs will be for a Gold's Gym currently moving into that tenant space within the Glendale Galleria Shopping Center. The previous tenant was Nordstrom. The project, as you mentioned, is located at 200 West Broadway. 4 findings of fact need to be made in order to grant a variance, and staff supports or believes that these findings can be made and recommends approval of the variance. The intent of the sign code is to create a more attractive business climate, enhance and protect the physical appearance of the community, and to encourage the most appropriate use of land, among other things. The subject site is located in downtown Glendale, the commercial hub of the city, at the Glendale Galleria shopping mall, which is a major regional draw. Gold's Gym will be one of the major tenants, and its location provides the context and the background of similarly placed signs. Other major tenants in the Galleria include the Dick's Sporting Goods, Macy's, JCPenney's, Target, and Bloomingdale's, and all of those tenants have large signs on the third levels of their tenant spaces. So it's common at the Galleria. As mentioned, the city sign regulations were developed for, I should say, I haven't mentioned this yet. The city sign regulations were developed for the more common pedestrian shopping streets and commercial strip retail centers. The Glendale Galleria is a large, traditionally designed enclosed shopping mall, which is a condition applicable to the property that does not apply to other commercial properties in the city, and a development type that is not really addressed in the city's sign code. The proposed wall signs will be located on the building facades, which typify the Glendale Galleria design. They're large, sort of blank walled facades. These are the exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to property involved that do not apply to other property in the same zone or neighborhood, which warrant granting a variance to allow wall signs on the third floor. As typifies the Glendale Galleria design, walls on the building where the signs are located are large and generally unarticulated. As I previously mentioned, all the other major tenants at the Galleria have signs located on the third floors of their tenant spaces. At the location of the proposed Gold Gym signs, because of the Galleria's design and placement of the windows, the building really appears as only a 2-story building as opposed to a 3-story building. So these are facts demonstrate that the granting of the variance will allow third floor tenant wall signs will not be materially detrimental to the public or to the Glendale Galleria property. Then finally, the objectives of the sign ordinance include, as I mentioned before, creating a more attractive business climate, enhancing and protecting the physical appearance of the community, and encouraging the most appropriate use of land. Sign regulations strive to safeguard life, safety, and property and public welfare. Wall sign standards in particular help ensure buildings do not contain an overabundance of signs, and the physical appearance of the community is preserved. Major tenants within shopping malls are typically thought to attract customers into the centers, where then customers will shop at the larger tenants as well as patronize the smaller tenants within the mall. As I mentioned, Gold's Gym will be one of the major tenants, and allowing the gym to install 2 signs on the third level of the building of the mall is consistent with creating a more attractive business climate, as these signs will help advertise the large tenant and will drive additional customers into the Galleria to shop at the inline tenants within the mall. The proposed signs will be required to comply with building codes, which control construction, electrification, and operation of signs. The number and sizes of the proposed wall signs is consistent with the city's sign standards. and will assist in breaking the massing of the large, generally unarticulated facades of the mall. Finally, staff supports granting the variance and with the draft findings and conditions in the staff report. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kiesel. So just to reiterate, the signs are in full compliance with the sign regulations with regards to the area permitted, and this is only a variance for the location on the third floor. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right,
Yes.
great. Right, thank you. I do not have any speaker cards. Was a speaker card turned in by chance?
Why don't you come up and speak, and then you'll need to fill out a card.
Exactly.
Yeah, at the front. That's okay.
Good morning, hearing officer.
Good morning.
Good
If I
morning,
can
Mr.
have your
Keith.
name and your address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Famida Rashid. I'll be representing Gold's Gym today, and the address of the project is 200 West Broadway. So I'll be speaking directly to the finding of facts today, and if you don't mind, I'll repeat what are the findings following with my response. So finding A indicates that the strict application of the provision of any such ordinance would result in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the general purposes and intent of the ordinance. The implementation of the provision will disable the public and the members of the gym to clearly identify the location of the gym, so that is our major concern. And finding B, there are exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved or the intended use or development of the property that do not apply generally to other property in the same zone or neighborhood. The exceptional circumstance is that the site has no standard or essential location for a tenant signage, so that's why we're asking to do this on the third floor. Finding C indicates the granting of the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvement in such zone or neighborhood in which the property is located. The location of the sign does not encroach with people's right-of-way or the traffic. And finally, finding D, the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the objective of the ordinance. The granting of the variance will allow the tenant to have signage in an appropriate location without any detriment to the public welfare. And that concludes my response to the finding.
Okay. The staff report included, obviously, the findings as well as 6 conditions of approval. Are you aware of those conditions?
Yes.
And you agree
Yes.
to complying with those, and that this variance will be granted only for Gold's Gym and will not be transferable to, let's say, a future tenant?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. I have no other questions. I see a few other members in the audience. Anyone else who wishes to speak today? No? That said,
We're good.
all right, well, thank you so much. I will take the matter under submission and render a decision shortly. So you will be receiving a letter, and again, the date of the decision is the date on the letter. And with that said, if there are no other questions, then the planning hearing officer hearing of December 6th is officially closed. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for your time.